My ex called me at 3 a.m. to ask, "Are you alive?" The phone buzzes at 3:17 a.m., vibrating against my nightstand like an angry wasp. I'm awake instantly, heart hammering against my ribs. Nobody calls at this hour unless someone's dead or dying. Jake's name glows on the screen. I stare at it, paralyzed. Jake Martinez. The same Jake who blocked me on everything 8 months ago. The same Jake who left me stranded in Phoenix with a lease I couldn't afford and credit cards maxed out from the move I made for his career. The same Jake who, according to Instagram stories I torture myself with, proposed to Melissa Chen last weekend at some bougie rooftop restaurant downtown. The buzzing stops. Then starts again. My thumb hovers over the decline button, but something stops me. Curiosity, maybe. Or the masochistic part of my brain that still picks at wounds until they bleed fresh. I answer on the 4th ring. Sarah? His voice cracks like he's been crying. Sarah, oh God, please tell me this is really you. I don't say anything. Can't, really. My throat feels packed with cotton. Sarah, are you there? Please, I need to know you're alive. Alive, what a loaded word coming from him. I want to laugh, but it would come out broken and bitter. Sarah, I heard. He takes a shuddering breath. Someone posted in the UA marketing alumni group that you were gone. That something happened to you. And I tried to find anything online, any obituary or news story, but there's nothing, and I thought maybe. You thought what, Jake? My voice comes out hoarse from sleep and something else. Something rawer. The relief in his sob makes me sick. Jesus Christ, you're okay. You're actually okay. I've been losing my mind for 3 days. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Melissa thinks I'm having some kind of breakdown. Melissa thinks of course she does. Sweet Melissa with her perfect corporate headshots and her size 2 Lululemon collection, who was warming Jake's bed while I was still buying him birthday presents and planning our future. Why do you care? The question slips out before I can stop it. Silence stretches between us like a chasm. In the background, I can hear the familiar hum of the air conditioning unit in his downtown apartment. The same apartment where we looked at listings together, where we talked about getting a dog, where he promised me we'd figure everything out. He clears his throat. I know I fucked up. I know I handled everything wrong. But I couldn't live with myself if something happened to you because of what I did. The audacity of it hits me like a slap. 8 months of radio silence, of leaving me to piece together our relationship's destruction through mutual friends and social media breadcrumbs, of letting me find out about Melissa through an Instagram story where they're kissing at the office Christmas party I helped him pick out a tie for. And now he calls because he's worried about his conscience. What exactly did you hear, Jake? I ask, settling back against my pillows. The studio apartment I can barely afford suddenly feels less like a prison cell and more like a war room. What did the post say? Just that you were gone. That's all. No details. His breathing sounds uneven. Sarah, what happened? Are you hurt? Are you? I close my eyes and smile in the darkness. The silence stretches between us, and I can practically hear his heart pounding through the phone. 3 days, he said. 3 days of thinking I was dead. 3 days of guilt eating him alive while his fiancée wondered why he was falling apart. I'm in therapy now, I say quietly, which is true. Dr. Martinez, different Martinez, thankfully, sees me twice a week to help untangle the mess Jake left behind. After everything happened. After you left. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but... Do you know what rock bottom looks like, Jake? I interrupt, sitting up straighter. The words come easier now, flowing like water through a broken dam. It's eating ramen for 6 weeks straight because the job you promised would definitely hire me never called back. It's having panic attacks in Target because I can't afford groceries and rent. It's finding out the man you moved your entire life for was fucking his coworker while you're Googling food banks. He makes it sound like he's been punched. Good. It's having your mom wire you money at 28 years old because your credit cards are maxed and your ex-boyfriend's name is still on the leash you can't break. It's sitting in a parking lot outside Melissa Chen's yoga studio at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, watching her load organic groceries into the BMW you helped him pick out, wondering what's wrong with you that he chose her. Jesus, Sarah. I didn't know it was that bad. You never. I tried calling you 67 times. The number rolls off my tongue because I've memorized it, along with the 34 texts that never got responses and the 2 voicemails he never returned. 67, Jake. The first 40 were about practical things. The lease, my stuff, trying to understand what happened. The last 27 were me begging you to just tell me why. The air conditioning hums in the background. Somewhere in his expensive downtown loft, Melissa is probably sleeping peacefully in our bed, well, their bed now, wearing the kind of silk pajamas I could never afford. I was a coward, he whispers. I knew I fucked up and I didn't know how to face you. Every day I wanted to call, but then more time passed and it got worse and... You got engaged. My voice stays steady somehow. 6 months after you ghosted me, you proposed to the woman you were cheating with. At Postino's, right? The same place you took me for our anniversary? He's crying now. I can hear it in his breathing, the way he keeps swallowing like he's trying not to lose it completely. How did you, never mind. Yes. But Sarah, you have to understand, it wasn't planned. Melissa and I, it just happened, and then you'd already moved and everything was so complicated. Complicated. I taste the word like poison. Is that what we're calling it? I should have talked to you. I should have been honest from the beginning instead of, God, I'm such a piece of shit. When I saw that post, when I thought you were actually gone. His voice breaks completely. I realized I'd been carrying this guilt every single day. It's been destroying me. Destroying him, the irony isn't lost on me. I glance at my laptop on the desk, screen dark but still warm from earlier tonight. The alumni Facebook group is still open in a browser tab. One little post from a fake account I created an hour ago, just 4 words, Sarah Williams is gone. Amazing how much chaos 4 words can create. The guilt has been destroying you, I repeat slowly, letting each word hang in the air like smoke. Tell me about that, Jake. I can't sleep most nights. I keep thinking about how I left you there, how selfish I was. Melissa says I talk in my sleep now, that I apologize to people who aren't there. He pauses, and I hear him moving around. Probably pacing. He always paced when he was anxious. She thinks I need therapy, but how do I explain that I'm haunted by my ex-girlfriend without sounding like I'm still in love with you? Are you? The question slips out before I can stop it. That's not, Sarah, I'm getting married in 3 months. That's not what I asked. The silence stretches so long I wonder if he hung up. Then, I love Melissa. She's good for me. She's stable and ambitious, and she doesn't make me feel like I'm drowning in expectations. The casual cruelty of it takes my breath away. Drowning in expectations, like wanting honesty and basic human decency, was asking too much. But you called me at 3 in the morning, I say. Not her. Because I thought you were dead. The words explode out of him. Do you know what these past 3 days have been like? I couldn't focus at work. I snapped at my boss during the quarterly review. I've been Googling your name obsessively, checking obituaries, calling hospitals. Melissa found me crying in the shower yesterday morning because I couldn't get the image out of my head of you giving up because of what I did to you. I closed my eyes and leaned back against my pillow. The fake Facebook post was better than I'd hoped. I'd expected maybe a sleepless night or two, but this is beautiful devastation. I called your mom, he continues, his voice barely above a whisper. My eyes snap open. You what? Yesterday afternoon. I was desperate. I called your mom and pretended I was following up on a work reference, trying to get in touch with you. She seemed confused, said she hadn't heard from me since Christmas, but that you were doing better and rebuilding your life. She wouldn't give me your number, said you'd made it clear you needed space. My mother. Who still asks about Jake every time we talk, who keeps suggesting I should reach out and get closure. Who has no idea her politeness to my ex just fed his guilt spiral. She sounded worried when I kept pushing, Jake continues. Asked if everything was okay, if something had happened to you. I had to hang up before I completely lost it. So you harassed my mother. I was terrified, Sarah. I thought maybe you'd hurt yourself. Because of me. Because of how I left things. There it is. The fear I planted is growing exactly like I hoped it would. He's spiraling, consumed by the possibility that his actions pushed me over some invisible edge. The wedding planning has been a nightmare, he says suddenly. Every time Melissa shows me flowers or venues or dress pictures, I feel sick. Like I'm building this perfect life on top of your grave. She keeps asking what's wrong with me, why I seem so distant lately. Maybe because you know you don't deserve to be happy, I say softly. Maybe I don't. His voice cracks again. God, Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that leaving you was the worst thing I've ever done. I think about it every day. I think about you every day. I smile in the darkness of my studio apartment, surrounded by the life he forced me to rebuild from nothing. The therapy bills, the ramen dinners, the nights crying myself to sleep, all of it suddenly feels worth it for this moment. Jake, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Yeah? I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about ending things. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear my own heartbeat. Jake's breathing stops entirely, like he's been turned to stone. Sarah, no. Please don't, whatever you're thinking, we can. Not that, I interrupt, though I let the pause linger just long enough. I mean ending things here. In Phoenix. I've been looking at jobs back east. Boston, maybe. Or New York. His exhale is shaky with relief and something else. Oh. That's probably good for you. Fresh start. Dr. Martinez thinks I have PTSD. Another truth wrapped in misdirection. From the abandonment. She says staying in the same city where it happened is keeping me stuck in the trauma cycle. I gave you PTSD? His voice is barely audible. Severe trust issues, depression, anxiety attacks. The works. I pause, letting him absorb that. She's been really concerned about me lately. Says I've been having what she calls dark ideation episodes. That's not entirely a lie. Dr. Martinez, Dr. Elena Martinez, who has absolutely nothing in common with my ex except a surname, has been concerned about my mental health. Just not in the way I'm implying. What does that mean? Jake asks, though his tone suggests he already knows. It means sometimes I disappear for days at a time. Turn off my phone, don't check emails, don't answer my door. My upstairs neighbor, Mrs. Chen, I pause, savoring the coincidence of the name, she started checking on me when she doesn't see me for more than 48 hours. Jesus Christ, Sarah. Last week I was gone for 4 days. Just drove out to Sedona and sat in my car looking at the red rocks, trying to figure out if any of this pain was worth carrying around anymore. I keep my voice steady, clinical. Mrs. Chen called the apartment manager when she didn't see my car. They were about to do a welfare check when I came home. It's almost true. I did drive to Sedona last weekend, but it was for a perfectly normal hiking trip with my coworker Jennifer. Mrs. Chen did notice I was gone. She's wonderfully nosy and has indeed appointed herself my unofficial guardian angel. But the welfare check part? Pure fiction. Beautiful, devastating fiction. I can't. Jake's voice breaks completely. Sarah, please tell me you're not going to hurt yourself. Please. I'm trying not to, I whisper. But some days it's really hard to see the point. Like, what was it all for? Moving here, loving you, building this whole life around someone who could just vanish without a word. I'm so sorry. God, I'm so fucking sorry. Dr. Martinez says the only way I'm going to heal is if I can find some kind of closure. Some way to make sense of why you left. I pause, listening to him breathe. She thinks I should write you a letter. Tell you exactly how your leaving affected me. I'll read it. Whatever you need to say, I'll read it. She also thinks, I continue slowly, that part of my healing process needs to involve you understanding the full scope of the damage. Not just the practical stuff, the money, the job, the apartment. The psychological damage. Tell me. Please. I need to understand. I smile in the darkness. He's so eager to flagellate himself, to wallow in the guilt that's been eating him alive. It's almost too easy. Do you know what it's like to wake up every morning and have to actively choose to stay alive? I ask. To have to talk yourself out of just stopping? Sarah. Because that's what you gave me, Jake. That's your legacy. Every morning for 8 months, I've had to convince myself that the pain you left me with isn't permanent. Some mornings I'm more successful than others. The sound he makes is barely human. Melissa must be wondering where you are, I say conversationally, as if I hadn't just shattered his world. It's almost 4 a.m. She's. Jake clears his throat. She's at her sister's place tonight. Bachelorette party planning or something. I've been alone with this for 3 days. Perfect. No witness to his breakdown, no one to talk him down from the ledge I'm carefully constructing. That must have made it worse, I say softly. Being alone with the guilt. I keep seeing your face from that last morning. You made me coffee and asked if I wanted you to pick up dinner on your way home from that interview at the marketing firm downtown. You were so hopeful about it. His breathing hitches. I already knew I was going to end things. Had been planning it for weeks. But I just sat there and let you make plans for a future I'd already decided to destroy. The memory hits like a physical blow. The interview at Morrison and Associates that never called back. The grocery list I'd started for a dinner I never got to cook. The way he'd kissed my forehead and said good luck today, babe, while knowing he'd be gone before I got home. You took my house key off your keychain that morning, I say, the detail surfacing from some protected corner of my memory. I found it on the kitchen counter next to a note that just said I'm sorry. 3 years together and you left me a post-it note. I know. I know how fucked up that was. Do you know what I did with that note? I ask, though I already know he doesn't want to hear this. I kept it. It's in my wallet right now, actually. Dr. Martinez says it's part of my trauma response, holding on to artifacts from the abandonment. That's true, unfortunately. The yellow post-it note, faded and soft from handling, tucked behind my driver's license like some kind of cursed talisman. Sarah, please throw it away. That can't be healthy. Probably not. But it's proof, you know? Proof that this whole thing actually happened and wasn't just some extended nightmare. I pause, letting the silence build. Sometimes I look at it and think about what would have happened if I'd come home earlier that day. If I'd caught you packing. I don't know. I was such a mess, such a coward. I probably would have made it worse somehow. Or maybe you would have had to look me in the eye and explain why 3 years meant so little to you that you could throw it away for someone you barely knew. It wasn't that simple. How long were you sleeping with her before you left me, Jake? The question hangs in the air like smoke. I can hear him moving around again, probably pacing the length of his living room. 12 steps from the kitchen island to the window. I used to count them when I lived there. Sarah, that's not going to help anyone. How long? 6 weeks, he whispers. Maybe 2 months. It started at that conference in Denver, the one where I said spouses couldn't come because the budget was tight. The Morrison and Associates interview was on a Thursday. I remember because I'd worn my lucky blue blazer and stopped at Starbucks afterward to celebrate what I thought had gone well. I'd texted him a photo of my celebration latte with extra foam. He texted back a heart emoji while balls deep in his coworker at some Denver hotel. 2 months, I repeat. So when we went to your company picnic in July, when she was there with her boyfriend Marcus from accounting, we'd already ended it by then. I felt too guilty. But then you started talking about maybe looking at bigger apartments and marriage timelines, and I panicked. So you restarted things with her? Yes. The word comes out broken. And the night I made dinner for your mom's birthday, when you got that work emergency text at 9 p.m.? Sarah, please don't. That was Melissa. Yes. Each confession is a small victory, but they taste more bitter than I expected. I built up so many theories over the past 8 months, conspiracy theories about their timeline that I'd hoped were wrong. Being right feels like winning and losing simultaneously. Your mom asked me where you were going when you grabbed your keys. I continue relentlessly. I told her you were dedicated to your job, that I was proud of how hard you worked. She said I was good for you. Jake makes a sound like he's being strangled. Does she know the truth about why we broke up? No. I told her we grew apart. That the long-distance thing was too hard. Long distance? I laugh, and it comes out sharp and ugly. We lived in the same apartment, Jake. The only distance was the emotional space you created to make room for someone else. She doesn't know any of this, Jake continues, his voice thick. About Melissa, about how I left you, about what I put you through. She still asks about you sometimes. Says she hopes you're doing well. His mother. Sweet Linda Martinez, who taught me how to make her abuela's tamales recipe and insisted I call her Mom Linda after our second Christmas together. Who probably still has photos of us on her refrigerator, wondering why her son's nice girlfriend just vanished from their lives. What does she think about Melissa? I ask. She likes her well enough. But she's mentioned a few times that Melissa seems very focused on appearances. Last week she asked me why I never smile in photos anymore. The image of Jake forcing smiles for engagement photos while drowning in guilt makes something warm unfurl in my chest. His mother always could read him like a book. She's right, isn't she? About the appearances thing. I shift in bed, getting comfortable. I looked at Melissa's Instagram. The engagement photos alone probably cost more than my rent. Her family has money. Her dad owns 3 dental practices in Scottsdale. Jake's voice carries a note of something, shame, maybe. The wedding is going to be huge. 200 guests, string quartet, the works. Sounds expensive. Her parents are paying for most of it. I couldn't afford what she wanted. He pauses. I couldn't afford what you would have wanted either, if I'd ever gotten the courage to propose. The admission hits unexpectedly. We talked about marriage in abstract terms, someday, when we were more established, when the timing was right. I'd never pressured him about it, never even looked at rings. But apparently he'd been thinking about it anyway. Is that what this was about? Money? I ask. Because I never cared about having an expensive wedding, Jake. I would have been happy with Vegas and 2 witnesses. I know. God, I know. That's what made it worse. His breathing is getting uneven again. Melissa started planning our engagement before I'd even decided to leave you. Showing me venues, talking about guest lists. It felt like being swept up in this current I couldn't fight. So you chose the current over me. I chose the easy path. The cowardly path. He's quiet for a moment. Sarah, can I ask you something? Sure. That post in the alumni group. Do you know who wrote it? My pulse spikes, but I keep my voice level. What do you mean? It's just, I tried to find the profile of whoever posted it, but the account seems to be deactivated now. And the wording was so vague. Just Sarah Williams is gone. No details, no context. I deleted the fake profile 20 minutes after posting, once I saw that it had gotten traction. Amazing how fast bad news spreads through social media, 37 comments and 12 shares before I pulled the plug. Maybe they didn't want to share details publicly, I suggest. You know how people are about privacy when it comes to that kind of thing. Maybe. But he doesn't sound convinced. It's just been bothering me. Like, who would know to post in the UA marketing group specifically? You graduated from ASU. Shit. That was sloppy of me. I'd been so focused on targeting his network that I picked the wrong alumni group. But I can work with this. I did some freelance work with a few UA grads last year, I lie smoothly. Maybe word spread through those connections. Right. That makes sense. He sounds like he's trying to convince himself. I guess I've been so paranoid lately that everything feels suspicious. Paranoid about what? That this is some kind of karma. Like the universe is finally making me pay for what I did to you. His voice drops to almost a whisper. When I saw that post, my first thought wasn't sadness or loss. It was guilt. Pure, paralyzing guilt. What kind of person does that make me? The kind who knows he deserves to suffer, I say quietly. The silence that follows is so heavy I can feel it through the phone. Do you really believe that? He asks finally. I think you're suffering now because you didn't let yourself suffer then. You took the easy way out, ghosting me, avoiding the conversation, jumping straight into something new with Melissa. You never had to sit with the consequences of your choices. I'm sitting with them now. For 3 days, Jake. You've been sitting with them for 3 whole days. I let that sink in. I've been sitting with them for 8 months. The admission hangs between us like a blade. 8 months versus 3 days, the math of suffering laid bare. You're right, he whispers. And I know 3 days doesn't even come close to making us even. But Sarah, these have been the worst 3 days of my life. I can't eat, can't work, can't look at Melissa without seeing your face. Yesterday I had to pull over on the 101 because I was crying so hard I couldn't see the road. Good. I want him crying on freeways. I want him haunted. Tell me about the wedding planning, I say, changing direction. How's that going? The shift seems to catch him off guard. What? Why do you want to know about that? Morbid curiosity, I guess. Here I am, barely keeping my head above water, and you're planning this perfect celebration of your new life. I want to understand what that feels like. It doesn't feel perfect, he says quietly. Nothing about this feels perfect anymore. But you're doing it anyway. The invitations already went out. Her parents put down deposits. There are contracts signed, vendors booked. He sounds exhausted. How do I tell 200 people that I'm having second thoughts because my ex-girlfriend might be suicidal and it's destroying my ability to pretend I'm happy? Is that what you tell them? That I'm suicidal? No, God, no. I wouldn't, Sarah, you're not actually considering hurting yourself, are you? Please tell me you're not. I let the silence stretch just long enough to make him panic. Dr. Martinez has me on a safety plan, I say finally. When the dark thoughts get too loud, I have people to call. A protocol to follow. What kind of protocol? Remove means of harm from my environment. Call my emergency contact. Go to my safe space. I pause. The problem is, my emergency contact was supposed to be you. Dr. Martinez had me write down 5 people I could call in crisis, and your name kept ending up at the top of the list. Jesus, Sarah. I had to cross it out every time. Write not available next to it in red pen until I got the message through my own head. This part is actually true, one of the more humiliating exercises Dr. Martinez had me do in therapy. Do you know how pathetic it is to realize that the person who hurt you the most is still the person you want to call when you're drowning? I'm available now, he says desperately. If you ever need, I know I don't deserve to be that person anymore, but if you're in crisis, call me. Please. What about Melissa? What would you tell her when you have to leave at 2 a.m. because your unstable ex-girlfriend is having a breakdown? I don't know. I'd figure something out. You'd lie to her. If I had to, yes. The admission should feel like victory, but instead it just makes me tired. Even now, faced with the destruction he's caused, Jake's instinct is to lie and compartmentalize rather than confront the truth. She doesn't know you called me tonight, does she? No. Are you going to tell her? He trails off, and I can practically hear him realizing the trap he's in. Tell Melissa about the call, and he'd have to explain why he was so devastated by rumors of my death. Don't tell her, and he's starting their marriage with another lie. This is what you do, isn't it? I continue. Create these elaborate compartments so you never have to deal with the mess you make. You had a whole separate life with Melissa while we were together, and now you're creating another secret compartment for your guilt about me. It's not that simple. It never is with you, Jake. Nothing's ever simple or straightforward. There's always some complexity that justifies the lying. A notification pings on my laptop, probably someone commenting on another post in the alumni group. Word travels fast in professional networks, especially bad news. I wonder how many of our mutual connections have seen it by now, how many are sharing the tragic news of Sarah Williams being gone. Jake, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest. Okay. If I actually had been dead, would you have come to the funeral? The question clearly blindsides him. What kind of question is that? The kind that tells me whether you actually cared about me as a person, or whether this guilt is just about your own conscience. I sit up straighter, suddenly wide awake despite the late hour. Would you have shown up? Would you have told Melissa where you were going? Of course I would have come. Sarah, how can you even ask that? Because you couldn't be bothered to show up for the relationship when I was alive. You couldn't show up for a single difficult conversation or honest explanation. So forgive me for wondering whether death would have finally made me worthy of your attention. That's not fair. Fair? The word comes out sharp enough to cut. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been a conversation before you started fucking Melissa. Fair would have been helping me figure out how to get home instead of leaving me stranded 1,500 miles from my family. Fair would have been not making me find out about your engagement through Instagram like some kind of acquaintance. You're right. None of this has been fair to you. So answer the question. Would you have come to my funeral? Yes, he says quietly. I would have been there. Front row, probably. Hating myself for every word I never said to you. What about Melissa? What about her? Would you have brought her? Your grieving fiancé, supporting you through the tragic loss of your old college friend? Don't. His voice turned sharp. Don't make this about her. Why not? She's going to be your wife in 3 months. She's the woman you chose over me. Doesn't she deserve to know that her husband-to-be is so torn up about his ex that he's calling her at 3 a.m. and falling apart at the thought of her being dead? She wouldn't understand. Try me. What wouldn't she understand? Jake is quiet for so long I think he might have hung up. Then, that I destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me because I was too scared to figure out how to deserve it. The confession hits me like a physical blow, and for a moment I forget this is supposed to be my revenge. The raw honesty in his voice, something I begged for 8 months ago and never received, now feels like salt in wounds that haven't fully healed. The best thing that ever happened to you, I repeat slowly. Funny how you figured that out after you threw it away. I knew it then too. That's what made it worse. His voice cracks again. Every morning I woke up next to you, I felt like I was living on borrowed time. Like eventually you'd figure out that you could do so much better than some marketing manager who peaked in college. So you sabotaged us before I could leave you. Maybe. Yeah. Probably. He lets out a shaky breath. Melissa never makes me feel that way. She's not. She doesn't expect as much from me. With her, I can just exist without feeling like I'm constantly disappointing someone. The casual cruelty of it steals my breath. All those times he'd pulled away when I tried to discuss our future, when I'd suggested couples therapy, when I'd asked if he was happy, I thought I was being supportive. Turns out I was being suffocating. God, Jake. Is that really how you saw me? As some demanding shrew who expected too much? No. That's not, fuck, I'm explaining this all wrong. I hear him sit down heavily, probably on that expensive sectional sofa we picked out together at West Elm. You never asked for anything unreasonable. You wanted honesty and communication and emotional intimacy. Basic relationship stuff. But I felt like I was failing at all of it. So instead of trying harder, you found someone who expected less. When you put it like that, it sounds even worse than it was. How was it, then? Help me understand the version where you're not the villain. Another long pause. In the background, I can hear the familiar sounds of his apartment, the ice maker cycling, the neighbor's dog barking 3 floors down. The life I'd shared for 8 months before everything imploded. There is no version where I'm not the villain, he says finally. But if you want the whole truth, here it is. I was terrified that if we got married, I'd keep disappointing you until you hated me. With Melissa, the bar is set lower. She cares about her career and her yoga classes and having nice things. She doesn't psychoanalyze my moods or ask if I'm really okay when I'm quiet. I did that because I loved you, you idiot. Because I could tell when something was wrong. I know. And I couldn't handle being seen that clearly by someone. His laugh is bitter. The fucked up thing is, now I miss it. Melissa and I can go days barely talking about anything deeper than dinner plans or weekend logistics. Sometimes I catch myself wishing she'd ask what I'm thinking about. My laptop pings again with another notification. The fake death announcement is gaining traction, 43 comments now, with people sharing memories and expressing shock. Someone named Derek Holbrook wrote a paragraph about how I'd helped him with his resume during our senior year internship program. I don't even remember Derek Holbrook. Jake, I have to tell you something else. I minimize the Facebook tab and focus back on the conversation. Dr. Martinez wants me to consider inpatient treatment. The silence is immediate and complete. What kind of inpatient treatment? His voice is barely above a whisper. There's a facility in Tucson. Canyon Ridge Behavioral Health. It's a 30-day program for people with severe depression and trauma responses. I pause, letting the weight of that sink in. She thinks my coping mechanisms aren't sustainable long-term. This is actually true, sort of. Dr. Martinez did mention Canyon Ridge during our session last week, but as an example of resources available if I ever felt unsafe, not as a recommendation. But Jake doesn't need to know that distinction. 30 days, he repeats numbly. Minimum. Could be longer depending on my progress. I keep my voice clinical, detached. The intake coordinator said they have a waiting list, but Dr. Martinez thinks she can get me bumped up because of the severity of my case. What would happen to your job? Your apartment? I'd have to take medical leave. Ask my landlord for some kind of arrangement. I let out a carefully calculated sigh. Honestly, I'm not sure I can afford it. Even with insurance, the co-pays would be around $8,000. But Dr. Martinez says if I don't get intensive help soon, she's worried about my long-term prognosis. $8,000. The exact amount Jake had in his savings account when we were together, I know because I'd helped him organize his finances when we talked about getting a joint checking account. Money that probably went toward Melissa's engagement ring instead. Sarah, if it's about the money, it's not your responsibility, Jake. You made that pretty clear when you left. But if you need help, what I need, I interrupt, is to understand why this happened to me. Why I wasn't worth a conversation. Why 3 years of building a life together could be erased with a post-it note. The silence stretches between us, heavy with years of unasked questions and unspoken truths. Outside my window, Phoenix is starting to wake up, garbage trucks rumbling down the street, the first joggers of the morning hitting the sidewalks. Normal people living normal lives, untouched by the particular kind of devastation that comes from being discarded by someone you trusted completely. I don't know if I can give you an answer that makes sense, Jake says finally. Because it doesn't make sense to me either. Not anymore. Then help me make sense of it now, I say, settling deeper into my pillows. Start with Denver. The conference where it all began. Jake's breathing hitches. Sarah, I don't think. You owe me this much. If I'm going to spend 30 days in a psychiatric facility trying to put my brain back together, the least you can do is help me understand how it got broken. The guilt trip works. It always did with Jake. He was pathologically unable to say no when he thought someone was suffering. The Denver conference was in March, he begins reluctantly. The Advanced Marketing Analytics Summit at the Marriott downtown. Melissa was presenting on consumer behavior modeling. March. I remember because I'd helped him pack, made sure he had his good suit and the burgundy tie that brought out his eyes. I'd even tucked a note into his laptop bag that said, "Knock, I'm dead, handsome." What was her presentation about? Predictive algorithms for customer retention. It was actually brilliant. She'd developed this model that could predict churn rates with 94% accuracy. There's genuine admiration in his voice, the same tone he used to use when talking about my work. The whole conference was buzzing about it. Of course it was. Perfect Melissa with her perfect algorithms and her perfect corporate success. Everything I'd been trying to achieve in my own career, handed to her on a silver platter. So you were impressed? Everyone was impressed. She got 3 job offers that week. He pauses. But that's not why it happened. It wasn't about her being successful or attractive or any of that surface stuff. Then what was it about? She asked me to get drinks after her presentation. Said she wanted to pick my brain about something her team was working on. Just professional networking, you know? His voice gets quieter. But we ended up talking for 4 hours. About work, about college, about our relationships. You talked to her about me. I told her I was struggling. That I felt like I was drowning in this life I built but didn't know how to maintain. She said her boyfriend Marcus felt the same way, like he was always disappointing her, always falling short of her expectations. The parallel processing of relationship problems. How convenient. So you bonded over what disappointing boyfriends you both were. It sounds awful when you put it like that, but yeah. Kind of. Jake lets out a shaky breath. It felt like the first honest conversation I'd had in months. With you, I always felt like I had to pretend everything was fine. But with Melissa, I could admit that I felt lost. You could have admitted that to me, Jake. I asked you 100 times if you were okay. I know. But admitting it to you would have meant admitting I was failing you. With Melissa, I was just some guy at a conference. There were no stakes. Right up until you slept with her. That didn't happen until the last night. We'd been texting all week after the conference ended, just work stuff at first. Then more personal things. She was having problems with Marcus. He'd started making comments about her success, saying it made him feel emasculated. Another ping from my laptop. 51 comments now. Someone has started a thread about organizing a memorial service. The guilt web is spreading faster than I'd anticipated. How romantic. You found each other through mutual relationship dissatisfaction. It wasn't romantic. It was desperate. Jake's voice turns hollow. 2 people who felt like failures looking for someone who wouldn't judge them for it. But you kept seeing her. For 2 months, you said. 3 times. That's it. Twice when she had business trips to Phoenix, once when I drove up to Flagstaff for that regional conference in May. His words come out rushed, like confession might somehow minimize the betrayal. Every time I swore it was the last time. Every time I came home to you feeling like the worst person alive. Yet you kept doing it. Because for a few hours, I got to be someone who wasn't disappointing anyone. Someone who wasn't constantly falling short. The admission comes out broken. With you, I felt like I was always one mistake away from losing everything. With her, there was nothing to lose. The cruelty of the logic takes my breath away. I was too important to him, so he threw me away for someone who wasn't. Sarah? Are you still there? I'm here, I whisper. Just processing the fact that loving you too much is what killed us. Don't say it like that. Please. How should I say it, Jake? You just told me that I cared too much, expected too much, made you feel too seen. So you found someone who couldn't see you at all. The silence stretches until I can hear my own heartbeat in my ears. The wedding is August 15th, he says suddenly. At the Scottsdale Plaza Resort. 200 guests, just like I said. Congratulations. I don't think I can go through with it. What do you mean you can't go through with it? I ask, though my pulse quickens at the admission. I mean I've been standing in my kitchen for the past hour staring at the wedding invitations on my counter, and every single name feels like someone I'm lying to. His voice cracks. How do I marry someone when I'm still in love with the person I destroyed? The confession hits like a punch to the solar plexus. 8 months of silence, and now, 3 days after thinking I was dead, he's ready to bare his soul. You're not in love with me, Jake. You're in love with your guilt. No, that's not, Sarah. I think about you every single day. When I wake up, when I'm brushing my teeth, when I'm sitting in meetings pretending to care about quarterly projections. You're always there. That's called trauma, not love. You traumatized both of us when you left. Maybe. But when I thought you were gone, when I thought I'd never have the chance to tell you how sorry I am, how much I fucked up, he takes a shuddering breath. I realized I've been sleepwalking through this whole thing with Melissa. The engagement, the wedding planning, all of it. I'm marrying her because it's easier than facing what I did to us. My laptop chimes again. 68 comments now. Jennifer from my current job has found the post somehow and written a heartbreaking paragraph about how I'd been struggling lately but seem to be getting better. She's tagged 3 other coworkers, asking if anyone has heard from me recently. The fake death is taking on a life of its own, spreading through networks I hadn't even considered. This is either going exactly according to plan or spiraling completely out of control. Maybe both. Jake, you need to marry Melissa. The words surprise us both. I hear him inhale sharply. What? You heard me. You need to go through with the wedding. I keep my voice steady, clinical. Because the alternative is you destroying another woman the same way you destroyed me. I'm not going to destroy Melissa. I tell her the truth, explain that I'm not ready. 3 months before the wedding? After the invitations went out, after her parents put down deposits? I laugh, but it comes out better. Jake, that would be even crueler than what you did to me. At least I only wasted 3 years. She'd be humiliated in front of 200 people. So what, I just marry her anyway. Build a life on a lie? You're already building a life on a lie. The only difference is whether you destroy her now or later. I pause, letting that sink in. Besides, you said it yourself, she makes you feel comfortable. She doesn't expect too much. That's exactly what you need. How can you say that? How can you want me to marry someone else? Because I finally understand what Dr. Martinez has been trying to tell me. The lie flows easily now, wrapped around kernels of therapeutic truth. Some people are incapable of the kind of love that builds something lasting. They're only capable of the kind that destroys. Sarah, please don't say that. You called me at 3 a.m. because you were worried about your conscience, not because you actually missed me. If you'd really been in love with me this whole time, you would have called months ago. You would have fought for us instead of running away. I was scared. You were selfish. And you still are. I sit up straighter, feeling something crystallize in my chest. You want to call off your wedding because 3 days of guilt feels unbearable. What about 8 months of abandonment? What about the PTSD and the financial ruin and the complete destruction of my ability to trust another human being? I want to fix that. I want to make it right. You can't fix it, Jake. The damage is permanent. I glance at my laptop screen, where the memorial thread has grown to over 100 comments. Some things can't be undone. Then what am I supposed to do? Just marry Melissa and pretend none of this happened? That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Because the alternative, leaving another woman shattered and wondering what's wrong with her, is unconscionable, even for you. The silence that follows is so complete I wonder if the call dropped. Then I hear him crying, soft and broken. I don't know how to live with this guilt, Sarah. It's eating me alive. Good, I whisper. It should. The words hang in the air like poison, and I can hear Jake's breathing turn ragged on the other end of the line. You want me to suffer, he says finally, his voice barely above a whisper. I want you to understand what suffering feels like. Real suffering, not just 3 days of inconvenience. I close my laptop, cutting off the notification sounds from the memorial thread that's grown to 127 comments. Do you know what I did yesterday afternoon, Jake? What? I sat in the parking lot of Valley Financial Credit Union for 47 minutes, trying to work up the courage to go inside and ask about bankruptcy proceedings. The lie flows easily. I'd actually been at Target buying groceries, but he doesn't need to know that. The credit cards you left me with are maxed out at $23,000. The collections calls started 3 weeks ago. His sharp intake of breath tells me the number hit home. 23,000 was more than I made in my first year out of college, back when Jake and I were still just friends studying together at the ASU library. Sarah, I can help with that. I have savings. I don't want your money. I want you to know that while you've been planning your dream wedding with perfect Melissa, I've been Googling whether I can discharge debt from a relationship that destroyed my credit score along with everything else. I never meant for it to get that bad. But it did get that bad. Because you never looked back to see what your exit strategy cost me. I pull up my banking app, staring at the number that's become sickeningly familiar. My checking account balance is $247.83. My rent is due in 6 days. The confession is actually true, which makes it hit harder. Thursday's paycheck will cover rent with maybe $50 left over for groceries. The financial tightrope I've been walking for 8 months suddenly feels like useful ammunition. Jesus Christ, why didn't you tell me sooner? Tell you? Jake, I tried calling you 67 times, remember? You blocked my number. You blocked my email. You blocked me on every social media platform except LinkedIn, and even there you changed your profile to hide your contact information. I hear him moving around again, probably pacing. The familiar sound of his bare feet on hardwood floors, a sound that used to comfort me when I couldn't sleep, back when his restless energy felt endearing instead of destructive. The LinkedIn thing wasn't about you specifically, he says weakly. HR recommended we all update our privacy settings after that data breach in. Don't. The word comes out sharper than I intended. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending any of that was coincidental. You systematically erased me from your life while I was still trying to figure out how to survive in a city where I knew exactly 3 people. Who were the 3 people? The question catches me off guard. What? You said you knew 3 people in Phoenix. Who were they? It's such an odd detail to focus on that I almost laugh. Classic Jake, deflecting from the big picture by fixating on logistics. My landlord, Mrs. Chen upstairs, and the manager at the Starbucks on Camelback who always remembered my drink order. I pause. That's how pathetic my social circle was. The barista who made my morning latte was one of my closest local connections. What about work friends? I didn't have a job for 3 months, remember? Kind of hard to make work friends when the position you moved across the country for mysteriously evaporated. I pull my knees up to my chest, suddenly feeling the weight of those early weeks. Do you know what it's like to spend an entire Tuesday talking to no one except the automated voice on the unemployment hotline? Sarah. 47 minutes of hold music, Jake. Just to find out I didn't qualify for benefits because I voluntarily relocated from out of state. The memory still stings, sitting in that empty apartment with boxes I couldn't afford to ship back, listening to jazzy elevator music while my savings account drained away. But you wouldn't know about any of that, because you were busy being swept up in Melissa's current. I should have checked on you. I should have made sure you were okay. You should have been honest with me before I signed a 12-month lease in a city where I had no safety net. My voice stays level, but I can feel anger rising in my chest like floodwater. Do you know what the lease breaking fee was? $4,000. Plus forfeiting my security deposit. $4,000. His voice trails off. Exactly half of what Melissa's engagement ring probably cost, based on the close-up shots she posted on Instagram. The comparison slips out before I can stop it, revealing just how closely I've been monitoring their perfect life. Harry Winston, right? That's a 2-carat emerald cut in a platinum setting. I may be broke, but I'm not stupid. The silence that follows is different, heavier, more charged. I've just admitted to cyberstalking his fiancée's jewelry, which crosses some invisible line from justified anger into obsessive territory. You looked up her ring? Jake's voice carries a note of something that might be concern or fear. I looked up everything, Jake. Her LinkedIn profile, her company's website, her yoga studio's class schedules. I know she drives a white BMW X3, lives in a corner unit at the Meridian downtown, and orders the same acai bowl every Sunday at True Food Kitchen. The words pour out like confession, and I realize I've been holding them in for months. I know her sister's name is Amy and she's getting married next spring. I know Melissa's favorite hiking trail is Camelback Mountain's Echo Canyon because she posts photos from the summit every other weekend. Sarah, that's insane? Unhealthy? Probably. I closed my eyes, feeling something like relief at finally saying it out loud. But it was the only way I could make sense of what happened to me. The only way I could understand what I'd been replaced with. The admission hangs between us like smoke. I've just revealed the depth of my obsession with his new life, the months I've spent cataloging details of their relationship like evidence in some cosmic trial. It should feel humiliating, but instead it feels like power. Because now Jake knows exactly how thoroughly his betrayal broke me. And more importantly, he knows I've been watching. How long have you been watching us? Jake's voice has changed, taken on an edge I haven't heard before. Watching makes it sound predatory. I prefer monitoring the life that was supposed to be mine. I shift in bed, suddenly wide awake. Did you know Melissa posts her location on her Instagram stories? Every restaurant, every coffee shop, every weekend trip to Sedona. It's like she wants to be followed. Sarah, you need to stop. This isn't healthy. Neither was abandoning me without explanation, but here we are. I pull up Instagram on my phone, scrolling to Melissa's profile. Last Tuesday she was at the Henry for lunch with her bridesmaids. Posted a boomerang of champagne flutes with a caption, celebrating love and friendship. Very artistic. 43 likes in the first hour. How do you know how many likes? Never mind. I don't want to know. Jake's breathing has gotten shallow. Sarah, promise me you'll stay away from her. From both of us. Relax, Jake. I'm not some fatal attraction stalker. I've never approached her, never tried to contact her. I just observe. I scroll through more photos, Melissa at SoulCycle, Melissa at wine tastings, Melissa modeling engagement photos in the desert botanical garden. She has a very curated life. Very aspirational. I can see why you'd want to be part of it. It's not about the lifestyle. Isn't it, though? The Instagram posts, the expensive restaurants, the perfect apartment with the city views? I stopped scrolling at a particular photo that's always bothered me. This one from March 15th, 2 weeks after your Denver conference. She's wearing a Tiffany bracelet I've never seen before. Heart-shaped charms, looks like the return to Tiffany collection. Retail price around $400. The silence stretches so long I think he might have hung up. Jake? Still there? How do you know the retail price of jewelry on someone's Instagram? Google reverse image search is a beautiful thing. You can identify almost anything if you're motivated enough. I closed the app, but the images are burned into my memory. The bracelet was a gift, wasn't it? From her secret conference boyfriend who was still living with his girlfriend of 3 years. That's not, I didn't buy her jewelry while we were together. March 15th, Jake. Check your credit card statements if you want to refresh your memory. Another long pause. I can practically hear him calculating dates, trying to reconstruct the timeline of his betrayal with forensic precision. I bought it after I'd already decided to leave you, he says finally. I was going to break up with you that week, but then you got excited about that interview at Morrison and Associates and I couldn't. So you bought another woman jewelry instead. While I was celebrating what I thought was going to be our fresh start. The irony tastes bitter. I remember that week. You said you had to work late 3 nights in a row. The Hendricks account, right? Sarah. Except the Hendricks account wasn't due until April. I know because you complained about the timeline extension for 2 weeks. I pause, letting him absorb the fact that I'd been paying attention even when he thought I wasn't. You were with her, weren't you? While I was meal prepping lunches for both of us and doing your laundry and researching Phoenix neighborhoods where we might want to buy a house someday. Yes. The word comes out like he's been punched. Did you sleep with her in our bed? No. Never. I wouldn't. Where, then? Her place? Hotels? Sarah, this isn't going to help anyone. It helps me understand the level of calculation involved. This wasn't some moment of weakness or emotional affair that got out of hand. You were living a double life for months. I can hear my voice getting steadier, more detached. The bracelet proves premeditation. You were already building something with her while dismantling what we had. My laptop chimes with another notification. The memorial thread has exploded overnight, 198 comments now, with people sharing contact information for grief counseling services and starting a GoFundMe for my family to help with funeral expenses. Someone named Marcus Chen, could it be the same Marcus who used to date Melissa, has posted a long comment about depression awareness and suicide prevention. The irony is almost too perfect to be coincidental. Jake, I need to ask you something else. I don't know if I can handle any more questions tonight. Did you tell Melissa about this call? What? No, I told you she's at her sister's place. I mean after. Are you planning to tell her you called me? That you spent 4 hours on the phone with your supposedly dead ex-girlfriend? I wait for his answer, but only hear silence. Because that's going to be an interesting conversation. Explaining why you were so devastated by rumors of my death that you couldn't function for 3 days. She doesn't need to know the details. More compartmentalizing. Perfect. I close my laptop and lean back against my pillows. You know what's funny? I used to think your biggest flaw was conflict avoidance. Turns out it was much simpler than that. What do you mean? You're just selfish, Jake. Profoundly, fundamentally selfish. Everything you do is about minimizing your own discomfort, regardless of who gets destroyed in the process. That's not true, Jake says, but his voice lacks conviction. Isn't it? You cheated because being honest with me felt uncomfortable. You ghosted me because having a breakup conversation felt uncomfortable. You're marrying Melissa because calling off the wedding would be uncomfortable. I shift in bed, suddenly energized by the clarity of it all. And now you're having this conversation with me because living with guilt feels uncomfortable. If I was just trying to make myself feel better, I would have hung up hours ago. No, you would have hung up hours ago if you were actually capable of sitting with discomfort. But you can't, can you? You need absolution. You need me to tell you it's okay, that I forgive you, that you're not actually the villain in this story. The silence stretches, and I can hear him breathing heavily. Dr. Martinez has a theory about people like you, I continue, the lie flowing smoothly. She calls it empathy bypassing. You experience guilt, which feels like empathy, but it's really just self-preservation. You don't actually care about the harm you've caused, you just can't tolerate feeling like the bad guy. That's not, I do care about what happened to you. You care about what it says about you. There's a difference. My laptop pings again, the memorial thread has reached 247 comments. Someone has posted the phone number for the Phoenix Police Department's Wellness Check Division, concerned that no one has heard from me in days. Jake, I need to tell you something else about the facility in Tucson. His breathing stops entirely. They have a communication policy for the first 2 weeks. No phone calls, no emails, no social media. Complete digital detox while patients focus on intensive therapy. I pause, letting the weight of that sink in. If I get admitted next week, you won't be able to reach me. No one will. Sarah, please don't do this. There has to be another way. Actually, there might be. I sit up straighter, as if the idea just occurred to me. Dr. Martinez mentioned something called restorative justice therapy. It's where the person who caused the trauma participates in the healing process. What would that involve? Basically, you'd write a detailed letter taking full responsibility for your actions and their consequences. No excuses, no explanations about your feelings or motivations. Just acknowledgement of the specific harms you caused. I can hear him moving around again, probably reaching for a pen. Then you'd read it aloud during one of my therapy sessions. Via video call, since you're in Phoenix. I'll do it. Whatever you need. The letter has to be completely honest, Jake. Dr. Martinez would review it first, and if she detects any self-justification or blame shifting, we'd have to start over. I pause. And it gets shared with your support system. My support system? The people closest to you. Family, friends, your fiancé. Everyone who needs to understand why you might be struggling with guilt and mood changes. The trap is almost too easy to set. The therapy only works if you're willing to be fully transparent about what you did. The silence that follows is deafening. You want me to tell Melissa everything, he says finally. I want you to choose honesty for once in your life. Even when it's uncomfortable. I smile in the darkness. Unless you think she deserves to marry someone whose mental health is being destroyed by secrets about his ex-girlfriend. Sarah, you know I can't, she would call off the wedding. Then maybe she should. Maybe someone who would leave you for telling the truth about your past isn't the right person to spend your life with. I let that sink in. Or maybe you're just not ready to face the consequences of your choices. The wedding is in 11 weeks. Then you better start writing. The silence that follows is so complete I can hear my own heartbeat through the phone. Jake's breathing has gone ragged, like he's having some kind of panic attack. 11 weeks, I repeat softly. That's plenty of time to figure out who you want to be. The man who finally tells the truth, or the man who builds his marriage on another lie. Sarah, please. You don't understand what you're asking. Melissa's parents have already paid for everything. The venue, the catering, her dress cost $4,000. Her entire family is flying in from California. Sounds expensive. I scroll through my banking app again, staring at that pathetic $247.83. Must be nice to have that kind of financial security. Tell me, what does Melissa do when she can't afford groceries? She's never had to, her family has money, I told you that. Right. Daddy's dental practices. I close the app and open Instagram instead, pulling up a photo of Melissa at some charity gala from last month. She looks beautiful in this one from the Phoenix Children's Hospital fundraiser. That's a Diane von Furstenberg dress, isn't it? The wrap style in navy blue? How do you, never mind. Yes, probably. She likes designer things. $398 on Nordstrom's website. I checked. I zoom in on her smile, perfect and practiced for the camera. She's standing next to a banner that says Champions for Children. Very philanthropic. Very socially conscious. Where are you going with this? Just admiring her commitment to helping people in crisis. Children who are suffering, families who need support. I screenshot the image, though I'm not sure why. I wonder how she'd feel knowing her fiancé created a crisis that left someone unable to afford basic necessities. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? She's raising money for children's medical bills while you're marrying her with money that could have helped your ex-girlfriend avoid bankruptcy. The parallel feels perfect, like cosmic justice. Do you think she'd still find you attractive if she knew about the $23,000 in debt you left me with? You're being manipulative. I'm being honest. Finally. I pull up another photo, Melissa and Jake at some rooftop bar, her ring catching the light like a small star. This one's from 2 weeks ago. Postinos again, you really are a creature of habit. She's tagged the location, tagged the photographer, tagged the wine they're drinking. Very thorough documentation of your perfect life. Sarah, you need to stop looking at those photos. This obsession isn't healthy for either of us. You know what's not healthy? Having nightmares about your ex-boyfriend's engagement photos. The confession slips out before I can stop it. I dream about that ring, Jake. About sitting in that same restaurant, at that same table, wondering what was wrong with me that I never got a proposal. His sharp intake of breath tells me the admission hit home. We talked about marriage, he says quietly. You know we did. We talked about it the way people talk about winning the lottery. Someday, maybe, if everything works out perfectly. I close Instagram before I can scroll any deeper. With Melissa, you made it happen in 8 months. 8 months, Jake. Less time than we lived together. The timing wasn't about you. Everything was about me. Every choice you made was a reaction to what I represented. I can feel something shifting in my chest, some long-buried anger finally surfacing. I was the woman who saw through your bullshit, so you found someone who wouldn't look too closely. The memorial thread notification pops up again, 312 comments now. Someone has posted my old work phone number from Morrison and Associates, asking if anyone has tried calling to confirm the news. My stomach drops as I realize how quickly this could spiral into actual consequences. Jake, I need to ask you something important. Okay. After we hang up tonight, after you've had time to process all this, are you going to try to find me? The question seems to catch him off guard. What do you mean? I mean, are you going to show up at my apartment building? Drive by my work? Try to orchestrate some accidental encounter at the Starbucks on Camelback? I keep my voice level, but my pulse is racing. Because if you are, I need to know. For my safety. Your safety? Sarah, I would never hurt you. How can you even ask that? Because I don't know who you are anymore. The man I loved would never have done any of this to me. I pause, letting the weight of that settle. And now you're clearly having some kind of breakdown. Calling me at 3 a.m., sobbing about guilt, talking about not being able to go through with your wedding. That doesn't sound like someone making rational decisions. I'm not having a breakdown, Jake says, but his voice wavers. I'm just trying to figure out how to live with what I've done. By disrupting my life again? By dragging me into your pre-wedding crisis? The anger is flowing freely now, burning away months of carefully controlled pain. You had 8 months to figure this out, Jake. 8 months to grow a conscience or make amends or whatever this is supposed to be. But you waited until 3 days before I might disappear forever. The notification sound pings again. 341 comments. Someone claiming to be my coworker has posted that my supervisor is deeply concerned and planning to call the police if I don't show up for my shift tomorrow morning. Tomorrow. Tuesday. I actually do have to work tomorrow. The fake death announcement is about to collide with my real life in ways I hadn't anticipated. Jake, I interrupt, my voice suddenly sharp. I need to end this call. What? Sarah, we were just. 341 comments, Jake. That's how many people have responded to the post about my death. I refresh the page, watching the number tick higher in real time. My supervisor at Morrison and Associates, yes, I finally got hired there, is planning to call the police when I don't show up for work in 4 hours. The silence is immediate and complete. What are you talking about? His voice has gone very quiet, very careful. The post in the alumni group. The one that said, Sarah Williams is gone. The one that had you spiraling for 3 days. I close my laptop and lean back against my pillows, suddenly exhausted. I wrote it, Jake. I posted it from a fake account Sunday night after I saw Melissa's latest engagement photos. You, what? I wanted you to feel what I felt. Just for a few days. The panic, the helplessness, the complete loss of control. My voice stays steady somehow. I wanted you to understand what it's like when someone you care about just vanishes without explanation. The sound he makes is barely human, somewhere between a gasp and a sob. But people think you're actually dead. There's a memorial thread, people are sharing funeral planning information. I know. It got bigger than I expected. I glance at my phone, where 17 missed calls from unknown numbers are lighting up the screen. Which is why I have to go. Before this turns into a wellness check and I have to explain to Phoenix PD why I faked my own death to torture my ex-boyfriend. Sarah, Jesus Christ. 3 days, Jake. You couldn't handle 3 days of thinking I was gone. I've been functionally dead to you for 8 months, but the moment you thought it might be permanent, you fell apart. I stand up, suddenly energized by the clarity of it all. Do you know what that tells me? That I'm a selfish piece of shit who? That you only care about people when you can't have them anymore. That loss is just another form of ownership to you. I walk to my laptop and start typing a new Facebook post from my real account, very much alive and well. Reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Sorry for any confusion. Wait, you're just going to, what about everything we talked about? What about the facility in Tucson? I was never going to Tucson, Jake. I don't have severe PTSD, I'm not suicidal, and I sure as hell don't need your money for treatment. I hit publish and watch as relieved comments start pouring in immediately. I needed you to feel helpless and terrified and consumed by guilt. Mission accomplished. The silence stretches until I wonder if he's hung up. So none of it was real, he finally asks. The bankruptcy, the panic attacks, the dark thoughts? The debt is real. The financial struggle is real. The fact that you destroyed my life is very, very real. I close the laptop and head toward my bathroom, suddenly desperate for a shower. But I'm not dying, Jake. I'm actually doing better than I have in months. Because of this? Because you tortured me? Because I finally understand who you really are. And more importantly, who I am. I catch my reflection in the mirror, messy hair, tired eyes, but something stronger underneath. I'm someone who survived you. That's not nothing. Sarah, I'm so sorry. For all of it. I know that doesn't fix anything, but... You're right. It doesn't fix anything. I turn on the faucet, letting hot water fill the silence. Go marry Melissa, Jake. Build your perfect life with someone who'll never ask too much of you. But do me one favor. Remember this feeling. This panic, this guilt, this complete helplessness. That's what abandonment feels like. I pause, looking at myself in the mirror one last time. The next time you're tempted to take the easy way out, remember that someone real gets left behind to pick up the pieces. Sarah, wait. I hang up and immediately block his number. Then I step into the shower and let the hot water wash away 8 months of anger, 3 days of elaborate revenge, and 4 hours of the most honest conversation we ever had. By the time I get out, my phone shows 47 missed calls and 93 text messages from people who thought I was dead. I'm very much alive. And finally, that feels like enough.